All right, welcome to the Ryan Bronies live panel.
That was good.
That was very good. Paul, I didn't see you clapping. Paul clapped. Okay, good. Good job, Paul. But luckily we have our two very special guests, both
Very awesome
you all know.
guests.
No, I'm sorry.
I thought I was the only one special here.
Keith Fuller.
You're special. You're special in a special way. Yay!
I know you all know who they are, but if they would like to introduce themselves one more time, just in case you dirt.
Okay.
Introduce yourself to the internet.
Rich Arons, I'm a director, producer, writer in many anime shows.
Matthew Hill, otherwise known as Matt Hill, cartoon actor, film and TV, runner, stuff.
I heard you went on a very long run.
I did go on a very long run, yeah.
This morning?
Not well, yeah, I've been on a long run for a long time.
Very
It's a good
nice.
thing, but yeah, so, yeah.
I'm still on the road.
Dallas, you can't run. Your ankle's broken twice.
Yeah, I'm gonna hobble.
He can hobble. That's what he's good at. But, yeah. How many of you have ever heard the Ryan Bronies podcast? 10, you don't count.
Man, 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Don't need to move the camera. 2,000 people raising.
Yes.
Yeah, no need to look. No need. We're good.
Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
We have that stock scene we can have.
Yeah, we got little cardboard cutouts. I saw those the other day. I don't know if they're here.
You're ruining the illusion. But, real quick, it's a great honor being around these two because, Rich, you worked on several anime shows that me and this guy, I guess, have a special code.
I guess. What do you mean, I guess?
I guess. Keep on your budget. Yes. But we grew up watching a lot of the things you did. And heck,
I'm not that old.
but I do have to say, the way you did Lord of the Rings scared him to death.
Yeah, that was the first movie as a kid that really like freaked me.
It was, I remember,
The ring wraith just threw me for a loop as a kid. I was like,
I did have to do I had to do some scenes with these orcs converging on the good guys in the middle, and I remember spending like a couple of weeks like tracing all these creatures with shields, and then Ralph actually coming in one day and saying, this scene's been pulled from the picture.
you're like,
Give this gentleman something else to do. That really stands out in my mind. Lord of the Rings from way back.
Balto, sorry. Best thing ever. Balto.
He's a very huge Balto fan. But in the Matt, you've been doing voice work. And a lot of people know you for Ed, but this guy right here happens to know you from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, yo, yep. So from Raph to Ed, it's been a pretty cool ride, I must say, for sure.
Definitely.
So especially when you think about it, someone beat Raphael and Ed.
Yep. I know, how do those two
Most people can't pull off the big one way or another. In film, they'll do cast different parts, but you never see someone go from green to yellow with 3 fingers.
absolutely,
Both guys with 3 fingers. So.
Well, it's funny because sometimes I get confused when I'd be in the Ninja Turtle suit. I would just start running like Ed though.
I can see you just like,
Oh, God, Splinter!
that's never leaving my head now.
Yeah, the secret of the U's was more like, Jawbreaker.
Someone draw that.
I saw that for the first time like a week and a half ago, and oh my god, baby, that part made me laugh so hard.
I can just picture Donatello just like running around like
Totally.
It's definitely worth it to have you guys here. I just say it's really cool to see y'all here. Let's give a round of applause.
That's the applause of 20,000 people. See?
My 18th.
I'm lying to make them feel better.
I'll say one thing about the voiceover stuff that Matt does. One of the amazing things to me is always that you do get some voiceover guys that they do a funny voice or something, but they're not really acting. They're just doing sort of a funny thing. Whereas, Matt, acting, he actually, acts. He actually, becomes the character and does that, and that's very rare. I think.
Yeah, I love voice acting. I've always been a huge fan. If you've listened to the podcast, you know that I see voice acting as a very delicate art because it takes so much in order to get just the right portrayal. And it depends on the day you're working, the moisture in the air, all kinds of little bitty things.
Oh, sure. Well, it's like I think what kind of like maybe the big studios also found out, like when all of a sudden Aladdin did so well, right? It was kind of like the first sort of like big major of the new generation.
Yeah,
right?
mega hit.
Yeah, and so everything, but you also look at the writers that were on that, look at the other performers that were on that, look at the the animators on that, and then you look at a guy called Robin Williams.
So don't get me started.
Because really he's a genius.
Man, that's my
and so then as they started to go along for the first little while, always trying to make, obviously get as much box office draw, thinking that you can just bring a big name actor in all the time and guarantee a massive hit. It ain't that way, right? It's and even actors that came from television or film, or they were great film and TV actors, and then all of a sudden they get,
Well, and the thing is that you can't look at them anymore. It's like, because so many actors are, they're so, beautiful or handsome, whatever, and they have mannerisms, and they have a voice, and it's a whole package. But, the voiceover guy, all he's got is that voice. You can't get out there and wink at you or do that, whatever.
Don't do that.
Except for me.
Matt can go wink at the
Matt, did you just run around your house after being Ed all day and just
Oh my God! I would come home sometimes after a session, and I would have a head. I don't get headaches. I call them a headache. I don't have many, but once in a while.
That's cool.
But I literally, my head would pound sometimes because of literally not only sometimes having to do. I think I set a new record on the Eds. I did 56 takes on one line.
Wow.
Yeah, because Danny, who's the creator of it, heard it a certain way in his head. And he would not leave the line or the scene until we'd done it the way he heard it in his head.
And you suck.
Oh, and I sucked. So let's just get that off the table.
Real quick, if you don't mind me asking, what was this line of...
Buttered toast.
Was it every buttered toast line?
No, it was probably a line that was as inane as that.
Yeah.
But he heard it a certain way, and I think I blocked it out because I'd probably be like, But I remember it's going out of the studio afterwards and or if I wasn't okay, you think that would be pretty, right, straightforward, whatever. No. If I didn't do it because he'd be like, no, Ed would not do it that way. I'd be like, good Lord. How is he doing it? I'd be banging my head against the studio wall.
I have to say, that really shows that he was a good director.
But I must say, because the only thing was first is that it truly, and like I said, I've been doing this a while, it's the only episodic television cartoon I've ever done that I've never had to go and do pickups on for lines that were messed up, except for except that the network said we need to change a word or whatever. Every other show, you always go back to the next episode and you have tons of pickups. Because they're like, the line didn't work, we'll fix it. Danny Antonucci, the guy's a genius.
Wow, that's cool.
So big ode to that.
Yeah. I mean, I've driven through actors a little bit crazy sometimes because I had some idea in my head that this is how it has to be said. And I've, sometimes been wrong about that because sometimes the actors just come in and go and do this other thing with it, and you go, oh my God, that's even better. Just let him do it,
Yeah.
Try not to get my ego, in the way of the thing. Let the actor act. But sometimes the actor has a bad day, and you gotta get out there and
It's a very delicate situation.
Well, I think that, the actor just sometimes, like you say, on that note, if you're not getting it, sometimes it's just like, you know what? Just line reading. Tell me what it is you want me, like what you're hearing, say it and I'll do it verbatim. Sometimes that's the only way you're going to get it right. It's just like,
That's a unique perspective. That's cool to hear. There's this video game coming out. I'm big on video games. It's called Bioshock Infinite. And it is?
Yeah.
Look how behind I am.
He's already sitting on that big on the
He's really into video.
I am really slow, but I was watching a thing on the voice acting, and literally the director was like, okay, we need her to get in this mode where she's stressed out, and he goes, well, yell at her. And so the male voice actor was just like,
Troy Baker.
get the beep in line, you better do this and this, and he was just laying out on her, right? And he just tore into her. And then he stopped. And she got into that, that mode. And then the director was like, get into her again. And he goes, no, she's ready.
Yeah.
And that moment was me. I was like, that's awesome. Because it's just cool to hear that perspective. Nobody gets to see that when they're playing the game or watching the show. You don't get to see all that cool aspect. So I'm glad that's why we have you here today.
Well, one of the things, and Matt can tell me what he prefers, but one of the things that helped a lot in Freakazoid and Maniacs is that we had an ensemble cast, and we would record them together. And as much as we possibly could. I mean, sometimes an actor's out of town, you couldn't get them, but the energy that having one play off the other, the cartoon takes off in a whole direction that you never would have gotten otherwise if you recorded everything.
Yeah, the thing is that's the problem with the anime industry here in America is that they don't do it like in Japan where they actually do record together.
Canada's the same way though.
Really?
Well, because ultimately it's budget reasons for anime, right? Because you got to get a certain number of lines done within, let's say, 2 hours or 4 hours. It's totally non-conducive to the contract to try and get 4 hours.
But that just really shows how cartoons like Freakazoid and Animaniacs really stood out because they're basically playing off each other, looking at their emotions, seeing it in their eyes.
And the acting takes it to a whole new level that way. Your show really comes to life, and then when it goes to animation, you really can push the thing all the way and work out the animation. I mean, sometimes it's even good to film the actors while they're voicing it because oh my god, that can really help the animation.
Because it's a great reference in case they do something that you didn't think of.
Right.
Like just say they have a clinch, just the way you see their muscle structure right there.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually seen footage where they, back in the days, I remember doing like Peter Pan, they actually filmed Hans Conried acting things out. And it helped the animators, but not that they traced it, but it just gave them the whole thing. Along with the voice and the whole matters. That's why sometimes you look at he's really Hans Conried with his head and he's banging on the table and all that stuff. It's just the more it's like you can never get too much information and help up front.
That's when we were in theater and I didn't get into it that much until we started hanging out and we became best friends. And he was acting, he was doing plays. He had lead roles. I think he had 2 or 3, right? Yeah. And I got to be a soldier, so I got to be stand there. It was the best line ever.
That wasn't funny. You went to be a soldier too.
Yeah, I went to be a soldier. That's pretty funny. But that's why when I was with him in theater, I just followed him around because that's where we learned to play off of each other because we were best friends. And that's why I think our podcast does so well with each other because we're literally right next to each other, just goofing off, slapping each other, and giggling and all that fun stuff.
It's not the same as, say, a podcast that they're using Skype and a program to record it.
You know what it is? It's the same thing what we were talking about before, the difference between that human touch of CGI, or of hand-drawn animation and CGI. You get beautiful things in both things, but yet there's something that you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah.
That's human about it.
Aladdin,
it's like this, if we were all in 4 separate rooms having a podcast, you don't get the same interaction. It's the same thing. It's like all of us being here together. It's it's the same thing like being in the studio. There's flubs that happen, or there's just an energy that happens with having people doing their characters. You feed off
because people don't. Yeah, because people are not meant to be so isolated. You know, it's like we really need to sort of bang into each other and you know.
Wait, does that mean I get to
be
punch
messy.
them when we're doing a podcast?
No.
I mean, there's a certain messiness that you get in the you know, in the acting that's just incredible, and it goes right through it with the animators working together.
Exactly.
But part of that also is, I think in 2D animation, when you're drawing something, it's all a fake. I mean, everything's a fake. You're faking perspective. You're faking this, that.
Okay, I see.
And you're able to fake things in a way that, you know, CG it's harder to fake in CG because it's all like kind of real.
Yeah, you can't get away with it.
It's all built.
It's all
You know,
dimensions.
You have to, right, so you have to like, now you can do it in CG.
Yeah.
You can fake things. Like I was doing one show where we faked arms, made special arms that just did one thing. Because we couldn't make the arm the character.
Right, yeah.
We quickly hide, you hide one arm. Or something. So you can do it. You can pretty much do anything you want in CG. But it might be even more work than we can just go ahead and draw it. Sometimes you can just get that right expression and fake it the right way so that you go, oh yeah, that's.
Oh, he was angry. Okay, yeah. And his face is all just like.
Yeah, and you just, you know, so it's you know, it's this magic trick that you're doing that comes across in drawing. That's
so cool.
great.
I wish I could.
Real quick, speaking of drawing, what do you think of Dallas's masterpiece as an animator?
I'm amazed.
I'm totally gonna be the next animator. I'm totally happy now.
Look at it. Isn't it beautiful? I had a quick question, mostly for you, Rich, because I find, no offense, Matt.
Don't listen to
The timing thing, I was talking to you about it earlier, and I personally see it as one of the more difficult jobs that people don't really get recognition for. And I was wondering if you could talk to them a little bit about the timing.
Yeah, well, I think that what happens with the timing is that usually everything sort of comes together. Everything that's been done up to that point really comes together in a good way or a bad way. You know, if there aren't enough, for example, if there aren't enough poses in the storyboard to really explain an action, then, you know, what do you do? Okay, do you send it back to the storyboard guy? You have to have a whole big fight with the whole budget.
Yeah, you get yelled at for that.
You get yelled at because now you're going over budget for storyboard and for direction and people, because these people are getting salaries. So quite often, it's, you know, in the middle of the night, the timing director is sitting there adding little poses and coming up with all this intricate business right on these little huge exposure sheets or large exposure. So, you know, a lot of the chickens come to roost at that point, and your understanding of animation, of acting, of drawing, does really come together when you're timing those sheets. So, you know, it is like you said, it's sort of like there are these unsung heroes of timing out there that nobody knows about.
Which is a real shame, because without their work, it might not have turned out as well.
Yeah. And I've been on this, you know, in predicament where I'm like, I'm say the director of the show, there's a show and a timing package, and he says, what do you want me to do here? There's not enough information. So I've learned over the years to like really front load a heck out of shows. I used to use the word heck. And just put in as many poses as I can, act out as much as I can, you know, with historical guys work, if I'm doing it myself. So that when it gets to that timing, because I'm very sympathetic to those guys, because I've done that job.
You've been in their shoes.
And I want them to have as much as possible, and because then it's going to the animator, and God knows the animator could interpret something 1,000 different ways.
See, that sounds so difficult. Like you have to make something to show to someone else, then they put their part in, then they show it to someone else, and they have to put their part in. It all has to come together.
Somehow,
There's so much teamwork that's
It's kind of
involved.
like, how do these things ever even get made? Sometimes I wonder, how do we ever finish a cartoon? It's
so cool.
It's weird, you know? But somehow you do it, and hopefully you do it with enough information up front, enough good posing, enough good acting, enough good voice stuff, you know, and enough lines that cover the story, because, you know, sometimes, like, you know, Matt was just saying, you have to go back and record record some new lines, because you watch this thing, you know, in editing, and go, God, I don't even know how they got in that room. And why did she get killed in the last sequence? Why is she still showing up here? And you go, oh yeah, we all, I mean, that 45 people working on this missed it, and yeah, they did miss it. Didn't get it, so you're sitting there and editing, going, and the editor's looking at you like, what are you, a complete moron? You're the director? You know, so those things do happen, and you gotta like, okay, we need a line here, or we need something here, we need a scene from show 46. You know, what are we gonna do? So yeah, this whole editing process never, it's ongoing, and the timing director's right in the middle of that.
Brunson, do you have any questions?
Yes, and you encouraged me during my last question.
Difficult.
This is for both of you, since I'm not against you in any way. So this
But
is
conflict's good for podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we can get
we
rid of
got
it.
that covered. We're trying to
Podcasts.
We were gonna slap each other for a while.
You can't still.
Well, it sounds great on the radio.
I'll say, if you run show, we can still do that. There's no problem. We can like you get an American Gladiator thing on the table or something like that.
There can only
Wait,
be one.
who's gladiating?
Shush. So
I called them.
I have one of my favorite shows that's on right now. Well, I say it's on right now. It just ended. Young Justice. Just ended. We watched it. I watched it when it came on. When the finale came on that day, I watched it 3 times. When he watched it, it was the 3rd time I watched it. And we're both just sitting there like, how can that be over? How can that be the end? What is it like? What is it like from the director, the voice actor, when
the end happens.
when that and when you know it's coming? Whenever you're filming, but you're putting everything together, where you're like, okay, we know that we're not getting renewed. So do you approach it any different? As you go towards the end.
Well, just if I can answer.
Yeah.
We did know at the end of Freezer we knew it was ending, so we did like a show about the end.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, which is I guess kind of rare that you do that, but we actually had everybody sing a song about
Which was
the
very
end.
sad, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of heard like in the fields right here.
That's one way out. You just kind of like recognize it and say,
That fourth wall.
but I know in some series they just like kill as many people off as they can. I remember it was in 6 Feet Under. They went into the future 60 years to show how everybody died.
I don't think that's.
Which was very sad, to see everybody die. But it kind of, it did end the series.
It works. I mean, yeah, it's effective. Do you have one? Because I've got a good one that I was thinking about in my head.
You think?
Have you ever had fun breaking the fourth wall? Either you as a voice actor, have you had a chance to like?
Well, the good thing with voice acting, it's okay if you break the 4th wall.
Yeah.
Because it's in the studio.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, but
it's good that way. But yeah, I broke the 4th wall in probably the most important part of a live show that I was doing.
no way.
Yeah. And it was the most, probably like the deepest part of the show for my character.
Too good.
God, it was long. It was like, it was kind of a big
Yeah, you were like
character. And I was in a theater, probably a little bit bigger than this, but, and I'm right out on the, right on the arch, man. I'm
Just hanging over, just.
I could mosh.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And I'm doing my thing, and I just happened to break that little 4th wall, and the wall busted open, and I saw a couple in the top row making out. and the thing that's wild is I just stared at them. And you're just like, I don't know how long I did, but it felt like an eternity when all of a sudden I realized the other part of my brain went, what are you doing? So it was like, no, dear, no. I'll never forget that, just being like, oh.
Give her the tongue.
Loving each
Well, the
other.
beautiful thing was is the guy, because I'll never forget, because they're kissing, and then it was like, he recognized
He
that I
felt it,
broke
yeah,
the
he
wall.
felt it.
And that was just what brought me back, because then all of a sudden the guy goes like,
If you're ever out there, you're a hero for that.
Wow, give that guy a big favor.
I know. I think,
One quick question before we move on to everyone's favorite segment.
But here you can take Him
Oh,
breaking the fourth wall.
Oh.
Did you ever break it as an animator? Did you ever break it as an
All
animator?
the time. I mean,
Freakazoid breaks it all the time.
actually, all the Looney Tunes or Tiny
Oh,
Toons
yeah,
are
that was-
because that was, it basically goes back to Groucho. I mean, because Bugs Bunny was based on Groucho. You know, sort of doing those asides to camera and doing that. So, yeah, I mean, we were at Warner's. That's sort of like
it's a staple. It has to happen.
Yeah. So those shows, just by style alone, you're breaking the fourth wall, which can be great, or but if you do too much,
then it becomes old.
It becomes old, and
and
then you lose the impact of the fun moment when it hits the camera and wiggles the eyebrows, and says that little non sequitur. So that's a real tricky thing. Cartoon. It's like it's just like eyeballs butting out of heads. It's like everybody does that in every cartoon now. There's no impact anymore. You don't even care.
There's like.
So it's like anytime something gets overused, that was a wonderful, shocking thing.
Yeah.
You kind of are ruining that, and you kind of stay away from it.
That's what I've noticed.
If you're creative, you stay away from it after a while.
Things disappear, and then you'll wait maybe like a year or two, and you bring it back, and people are like, oh, I remember that. So.
Yeah, it's tricky.
I just have a quick question for Matt, since I have that as every voice actor. Did you ever leave any hilarious bombs for your fellow castmates?
By bomb, what do you mean by bomb?
Basically, you would leave, say you did extra takes, you would leave a line that your ADR director would put in for the next person who came in.
Oh, that's so mean. I would do it.
Heck yeah.
I like how he's like,
yeah, and this is a PG show, so I won't say it. But yeah, there's one of my best friends, actually, a guy named Mike Dobson, who, he's a genius. But I've, since probably the first week we've ever worked together on stuff, I've left him cryptid stuff in lines that it'll come out of nowhere. And it's great, But like you said, after a while you start to expect it. So you have more creative ways.
Yeah, you don't want him to if he knows it's coming.
Can't be anticipated, right? But So I left him a good one. Oh, I wish I could say it, but
well, maybe sometime if we ever get a chance to record on we'll definitely. Did you whip out the whoopee cushion?
I've loved. That's just
That's perfect.
That's called leaving the studio with no air.
Yeah.
Did you say air biscuit?
Those rooms are.
Does that make sense?
They keep the air
air biscuit.
Air biscuit, yes, that's what. We call them wet ducks, air biscuits.
So in Canada we call it an air biscuit. So production stops and you leave. The person who did it kind of giggles and everybody.
All right. That one day I'll hear that.
Can I say one thing? Here's another person that is a hero that you never hear about, is Mixer, because so many cartoons are mixed poorly and TV shows, so you can't hear the dialogue, or you can't get the nuances of the music, and that's like, it's like after everything's all over, you can blow, you have a great performance from a guy like Matt, and it can all be blown if you don't mix it right. And that's like one of those, odd things that you just, that people don't hear about. But it's like it's bigger than anything because you can't hear it, whatever.
It's almost like a football team. That's how it feels to me. I'm a big sports fan. I'm named after the Cowboys, all that. But that's just, it's really cool how much time, money, and cumulative hours and work and talent is just poured into something, and then it comes out. And so it's really cool. Like that's making me like.
I would listen to something on the worst speakers possible. Yeah. Because usually that's what people have at home. Although today people are better.
Or you got the speakers like,
and I'll just try to listen to the show that way to see if like the mix is any good.
Yeah. So how does that happen though? Like, if, you know what I mean? Like, would it come down to where, say, the mixer just didn't have enough time, or it wasn't in the budget?
Yeah, right. I mean, it could be
enough time to make it right.
Heartburn or something. But whatever. There's always some reason. There's always some. So you work with these people, and if you have a good guy, he knows what to do. But a lot of times, they don't hear, and also people don't hear. You can't expect someone who's just coming on at the end of the game to hear the cartoon the way you hear it in your head, and okay, you've got there's this moment when the character goes, wah, and it's got to be super loud, and it's got to be deafening, but then you still have to hear the next thing that he says super soft. It goes from some wide range thing to some narrow for comedy effect. it's this, you know, ushering it through, you know, all the way, and you know, making sure you guys are heroes, you know.
There's a lot of unsung heroes
So cool.
in the entertainment industry.